Welcome back, everyone. I hope you are all able to get some snacks. One of the goals of our group is to give you some tools so you feel prepared to start taking steps to stop your marijuana use. One of those important tools for that is to develop an awareness of alternative coping mechanisms that you can use to help with your anxiety.
You're all here today because you are feeling right to try moving away from marijuana use and towards some other coping mechanisms to help you manage the anxiety you experience. Before the break, we introduced the concept of coping strategies, and now we're going to dive a little deeper into that topic. Does anyone feel comfortable sharing some of their current coping strategies?
I can. So if I'm stressed and I have time, I'll go for a run, but I tend to be lazy a lot of the time and I'd rather smoke weed because it requires less energy.
I just like to smoke weed to get my mind off things.
Okay, so I can see that you recognize that you use weed as a coping mechanism, but what are these things you use weed to escape from?
Uh, I don't know, like anxiety and life problems, I guess.
Yeah, I like to hang out with my friends when I'm feeling anxious, and we also like to smoke weed together.
Thank you for sharing. Do you find that those methods are effective long term?
No, but it helps in the moment, I guess.
Yeah, definitely not. I can see that it's affecting my lung capacity and my overall health, but it's like an easy fix.
It's great that you all recognize that these methods might not be the most effective, but I also recognize that sometimes it's the easiest coping method to turn to. Do you think there are any other activities that you could do to help cope with anxiety besides smoking weed?
Um, I don't really know. That's why I'm here.
I hear you, Maya. In a couple minutes, we are going to go over some effective coping mechanisms.
I was thinking maybe my friends and I could watch a movie or make some food. We baked cookies last time we got high, and that was fun to do together.
Baking cookies and watching a movie are really good ideas, Hannah.
Maybe hanging out with friends or playing video games.
Or physical activity and going outside.
Those are all great alternatives. What are some examples of other healthy coping mechanisms you think you can implement in your life to help cope with stress and anxiety that don't involve smoking weed?
Maybe like arts and crafts or taking a bubble bath. Or you can like organize your closet.
Great ideas, Cheyenne. Arts and crafts is a great group activity and coping mechanism to do with friends.
Listening to music usually calms me down. I could try that.
Yeah, and I love animals, so I think playing with my pet would be a great way to ease my anxiety.
Music and animals have both been shown to have great effects for calming someone's anxiety. Great ideas, Maya and Hannah.
I really like watching movies or TV too.
That sounds like a great way to spend time and reduce anxiety and stress.
Here's a little scenario I'd like us to discuss as a group. Noelle has a research paper due in one of her classes. Because the paper will require so much work, Noelle feels anxious every time she thinks about it. When Noelle distracts herself with other activities, she feels better. Noelle uses the coping strategy of procrastination to avoid her feelings of anxiety. This helps her feel better now, but will cause problems in the long run. Can anyone think of something negative that might come out of the coping strategies that Noelle used?
Well, I know for me, procrastinating only makes my anxiety worse in the long run.
That's a really good point, Maya.
And I mean, with procrastination too, maybe her grades have taken a hit in a way because sometimes leaving things until last minute doesn't allow the time needed to complete something to the best of your ability. I know that that happens to me a lot, so maybe it happens to her too.
Thanks for sharing that, Cheyenne. So we can see that Noelle so we can see with Noelle that procrastinating might feel good in the moment, but it hurts her long term. This can be applied to using weed to cope with anxiety. It might feel as though it is helping short term, but marijuana use has been shown to mimic symptoms of anxiety long term. What healthy coping strategies could be helpful for Noelle?
Maybe she could try to work on her paper in smaller pieces with taking breaks in between so she doesn't feel so overwhelmed.
I feel like she could start her assignments in advance as well.
Those are both really good ideas. Now, what barriers might be preventing Noelle from using healthy coping strategies?
Maybe her attitude, like she just might not want to.
Yeah, and maybe she's tried other things and they just didn't help her.
Good points. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts on Noelle's dilemma. Now we are going to ask you that you refer to the provided worksheet, which explores individual problems you guys may be dealing with, as well as coping strategies you all can incorporate in your daily lives. We will give you guys some time to complete it, and then we will come back for a discussion.
Okay, now that everyone has had a chance to fill this worksheet in, we are going to go over this as a group and talk about what we wrote. Does anyone feel comfortable sharing a problem that they're currently dealing with and how you're coping with it?
I guess I can go first. Me and my boyfriend fight a lot and it causes me anxiety. So then I smoke weed to forget our problems and to calm myself down.
I'm sorry you're going through that, Maya. Based on what we've discussed so far, does anyone have any ideas of what Maya can do alternatively to smoking weed to help with her relationship problems?
Honestly, I would say just break up with him.
That is one possibility for sure, Hannah, but that might not be the best solution for Maya's situation.
Maybe Maya can make a pro-con list and then try some mindful breathing exercises or put on a funny show to distract herself.
I feel like she could also spend time with friends or family instead of her boyfriend.
Those are helpful ideas. If you're feeling anxious after a fight with your boyfriend, I would suggest doing an activity that makes you feel good instead of smoking. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I do like to paint and I haven't done it in a while, so
That's a great alternative, Maya. Give that a try and notice if it helps. We'll see if you notice any changes. Does anyone else want to share a situation they're currently going through?
I guess I can go. Personally, I've been struggling in school right now, and I used to cope by spending lots of money online shopping, but I found that weed is a faster and more affordable way to deal with my anxiety.
So, what I'm understanding, Hannah, is that you feel that weed is a better coping mechanism financially than online shopping. Does anyone have some other suggestions for Hannah?
Maybe instead she can work out or try some yoga.
I've found that taking care of myself gives me the same satisfaction that shopping does, but without spending money. So sometimes I'll paint my nails or do a skincare routine because it's free and it gets my mind off things.
Those are really great ideas. And thanks for bringing up the topic of self care, Maya. That's an important subject for all of us to be thinking about as well.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestions, guys. I do have a gym membership that I never use, so maybe that's a better idea to escape from my thoughts.
I feel like disagreements with my parents really makes me want to smoke weed.
Yeah, similar to what Lauren said, my life at home is kind of hectic at the moment, and weed just helps me get into a different headspace.
Lauren and Cheyenne, both of those scenarios do sound quite stressful. It does become hectic when life at home becomes hard. Can we think of other ways to cope with family issues instead of smoking marijuana?
I don't know, maybe we could both try going for a walk after a disagreement or a fight and kind of help that anxiety and get into a better headspace.
Going for a walk after a disagreement is a really good idea, Lauren. That will allow you some time to get into a better headspace, as you said. Perhaps when you get back from your walk, you could try talking things over with your family members again.
Yeah, that actually is a pretty good idea. I could try that next time.
So we can see that all of you share a similarity of coping with anxiety through marijuana. Now that we have discussed some healthy and unhealthy coping strategies, what are some ways you guys can work to successfully implement these into your lives instead of turning to marijuana?
Maybe I can create a self-care plan like you guys taught us about earlier on in the session. This way, anytime I'm anxious and get a craving to smoke weed, I can just look at my list of healthier coping strategies and select one from there to do. Also, implementing specific self-care routines can help keep my mind off the pressing issues at hand.
Yeah, and maybe when I'm struggling with school, I can try some breathing exercise or maybe listening to some of my favorite songs to help me reduce my stress, which then might help me to feel like I don't even need to smoke weed.
Great ideas, Hannah and Cheyenne. I am glad that you I am glad to see that you guys are thinking about implementing new strategies we discussed into your lives. Having a self-care plan and utilizing breathing exercises can both be used as great grounding techniques to help redirect your thoughts away from wanting to smoke weed to cope with your anxiety.
Now that we have discussed how we can implement these new coping strategies instead of using marijuana, what barriers exist in actually implementing them?
I mean, I'm willing to try other methods, but I'm also just nervous that I'll lose my friends because we smoke weed together a lot.
I understand, Hannah. I'm really glad to hear that you're willing to try other methods. Having that worry is normal, but it's important to remember that your friends should also be there to support you in these changes that will help better you in the long run. Smoking weed isn't the only reason you guys are friends.
And for me, I just worry that maybe new methods won't be as effective. I've been smoking weed for so long, so it'll be hard to successfully implement change.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also worried about like the new ways not working and I'm gonna start using again.
It's important to remember that it takes time to adapt to change and to find out ways that work best for you individually. Molly and I are both here to support you and help you implement these changes. How are we feeling after that exercise now?
I actually liked it, and it helped me reflect on my current methods and how there are definitely better options than what I do currently. It was also realistic in the sense that it identified that there will be barriers and change isn't always going to be easy. I will for sure keep it so I can refer to it in the future.
I'm so glad to hear that, Cheyenne. Please feel free to refer back to the worksheet anytime. I hope it is useful for you.
Yeah, I'll try some of these out and I'll see if they help.
Yeah, me too. I definitely felt like this group was helpful and made me feel more confident that I will be able to stop using marijuana.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try some of the coping mechanisms we talked about, but also keep the barriers in mind as well.
I'm glad you guys are feeling open to trying these new coping mechanisms.
Please don't feel that using weed is a failure in any way. This is a hard thing to make. This is a hard change to make, and progress is going to be slow. Be patient with yourself. If you slip, it's a normal part of recovery.
It looks like our time is up for today's session. I want to thank you all for coming and participating. I hope that you all try some of these new coping strategies that we talked about today and apply them to when you begin to feel anxious. If you ever feel yourself struggling, we have attached some resources for you at the bottom of your handout. They are also available on our website. I want to thank you again and wish you all well in your recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you.